Next up is Boston College, Boston
All
here.
right.
All right, so Jeff Haffley takes over to try to get BC to the next level. This is a guy from Ohio State, but he was only the co-defensive coordinator for just 1 year, but he did spend 7 years in the NFL as a defensive backs coach. So you got to think right there, he's got to improve the defensive backs there. He's got to improve that defense, right? At least in the sense of a secondary. Now, they're also bringing in Frank Signetti Jr., who has worked with Aaron Rodgers, your man, and Eli Manning. He's now the offensive coordinator. Tim Lukabu, I believe I'm saying that right, is now the defensive coordinator, is a former linebackers coach, all right? And he was linebackers coach for the Bengals. So this guy's bringing in a ton of NFL caliber coaches, in order to try to take this team to the next level. And I remember on Packer and Durham, the president of the university came on, and they asked him. They said, Adazio was kind of well liked in the area. He didn't have losing seasons, so what was the deal? And he said, I'm just tired of having 6 and 7 win years. I'm tired of having going 7 and 6, every single year. I want to see what we can do. I feel like Boston College can take it to the next level. Now, what do you think about Steve Adazio? What do you think about him as a person? It's not here or there. He's gone now. And now they've got Haffley, who will take over. They also lose Anthony Brown, who suffered a season-ending knee injury and then is transferring out. Mm-hmm. So when I talk about what do I care about, number one, quarterback, Dennis Grossel. I'm not liking that. I'm already kind of like feeling a little nervous there. So you got a question there. Then you lose A.J. Dillon. Now, Boston College articles, Boston College people are going to tell us, well, we've got David Bailey. Now, David Bailey, I believe, was an honorable mention all ACC. So, yes, and he is the same exact height and almost the same weight as A.J. Dillon. So a lot of people are saying, well, don't even worry. We're not even worried about A.J. Dillon. He is a clone of Dillon. Now, the offensive line is always going to be stacked at Boston College. You can't ever worry about that.
Right.
And they only have 2 away games before November. Remember I told you about, I like this stat. So they're September, October, a lot of home games. Though. If there's only 2 away games in September, October, that means this is the team I was telling you about. 3 away games in November, only 1 home game in November. That is not a fun way to finish the year out with only 1 home game in an entire month, and it's the last month of the season. Another thing that I think bodes well for Boston College, at least in some cases, is that they lost 3 ACC games by a total of 14 points. So the games they lost weren't blowouts, other than I believe like the one game where we both picked them last year to beat Kansas, and whatever happened there, they got destroyed by Kansas and Les Miles. So they really let us down there. But I don't know. I say that they were really close, but that was a completely different team. They're replacing their quarterback. They're replacing their running back. They're replacing their head coach, offensive coordinator, and defensive coordinator. So those are all things that make me kind of hiccup a little bit.
Yeah, and I got to tell you, thank goodness you went over most everything I had to say over Boston College, so we can kind of end this one pretty quickly because I agree with you. I mean, they lose everything. A.J. Dillon was the heart and soul of this team, and he is gone. He sat out the bowl game, went pro. Okay, it's time for him to kind of do his business in the NFL. And Dennis Grossel is just not one of those guys, or Grossel, however you say his last name, is not one of those guys that's just going to light up the stat sheet, at least, from what we've seen so far, which, again, it's a relatively small sample size, so I don't want to throw him under the bus yet. But his completion percentage is what worries me. It's under 50% in the games he played last year, and that's not going to get the job done at all. They're going to have to find a way to pass the ball for sure. I think they do have they're waiting on a transfer, Phil Jerkovich or something like that from Notre Dame. I believe he'll be the starter if he gets a waiver, I would imagine. I think his talent level is far superior. But will he get that waiver? Who knows? The NCAA is crazy when it comes to these waivers. They're granting it to some guys for no reason, and they're not giving it to others for the most ridiculous of reasons. So we don't even know what to think there. If they get Jerkovich as their quarterback, I think they have potential to be a little bit better than people think. I'm not going to put them as a for sure lock for a bowl game. But I think that would be a pretty good probability. With all the new coaching staff, it's going to be a lot to learn there for sure as they're moving on through this season. So we'll kind of see how they go. They got some players. I mean, they got Kobe White and Zay Flowers. They're kind of their receivers. Those are go-to guys. Kobe White last year, he had 424 yards, 5 touchdowns. It's a pretty solid receiver for a team that never threw the ball really. And Flowers is a shorter, quick twitch kind of guy. He only started 2 games, but he played all 12, 22 receptions, 341 yards, 3 touchdowns. And he also had 26 rushes for 198 yards. So they've got some playmakers. They also returned key piece of the defense, linebacker Max Richardson. He's a redshirt junior. He led the team in tackle for loss, and sacks, in 2019. So that's kind of a big piece of the defense. So, they also, by the way, start off in ACC play against, who is it? They play Syracuse Friday night. Okay. So they're going to be doing business on a Friday night. And I believe they're at home. I believe they had that game at home. I'm pretty sure BC does. So they're out of conference games. I have written down Ohio, Kansas, Purdue, and Holy Cross. So nothing really to write home about there. Tough stretch in November or on October, that I have written down. Clemson, Louisville, VT. Those are some kind of tough games there. It's going to be real interesting to see what Boston College does. I like their offensive line, but I don't like the quarterback situation going on right now. So I have them down toward the bottom of the conference.